On today's show, we're going to get to the latest on Trey Lance, but before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, though, make sure you join us on Friday as we celebrate surpassing 80,000 subscribers. We want to use this platform as an opportunity to thank all of you for your continued support of the San Francisco 49ers Report. Myself, Trey, is going to be going live 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Subscribe, turn on your noties, lock us in. It's going to be a blast. And if you're coming across the show for the first time, this is why you should subscribe. I give you shows every single day on the San Francisco 49ers, in-season, off-season. We do it all. News, rumors, analysis, live shows, watch parties during the season. Our NFL draft coverage has been great. Our free agency coverage, superb as well. Shows every day. So if you want to stay informed on all things Niners year-round, we have you covered. As for what we're getting into on today's show, earlier this morning I did a show from my house because we had to talk about that Ian Rapoport report about the Niners fielding trade calls for Trey Lance and at least listening to offers. So we want to dive deeper into this with some of the newer information and also some trade ideas, and is San Francisco talking to the Minnesota Vikings about Kirk Cousins as well. But first, today's show is made possible thanks to Roan. We're a week and a day away from the 2023 NFL Draft, and a lot of these prospects going to be walking on stage looking fresh. If you want to look fresh and freshen up your wardrobe, make sure you do so with Roan. That's what I did with the commuter collection. I'm wearing their commuter shirt right now. 20% off if you use the code CHATSPORTS at roan.com/chatsports. Men's closets due for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. They knocked it out of the park like Barry Bonds back in the day, right into the bay. Roan's commuter collection, the most comfortable, breathable, flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. They have products for literally every occasion. I was in Key West rocking Roan. I go to the golf course rocking Roan. I wear Roan here at Chat Sports or a night out in town here in Dallas where I live. Roan helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection. The world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Roan commuter collection. They have this 4-way stretch fabric that provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy whatever life throws your way. Odorless technology, also wrinkle release technology, so you don't have to take these shirts to the dry cleaner. I've had this shirt, some of their other products for a really long time. I throw it in the washing machine. That's really all you have to do. We're going to put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. It's roan.com/chatsports, promo code CHATSPORTS. So in case you missed it, you can go back and watch my immediate reaction to this report from Ian Rapoport. If you didn't see it, here it is, and we'll run through it quickly, then get to the latest. The 49ers have received inquiries from several teams looking into a potential trade for former number 3 pick Trey Lance. The conversations have been the result of San Francisco fielding the calls, not making them, with teams aware that Brock Purdy is likely the future starter. While no trade is imminent, Rap Sheet continued, and the 49ers would almost certainly want to make sure Brock Purdy's rehab continues to go as smoothly as it's been going. The interest from other teams in Lance has certainly been there. Obviously, when something like this happens, is it put out there by his agent and Lance's camp because they're not happy with the 49ers' lack of trust in Trey Lance? Is it put out there by the 49ers because they want a larger offer in exchange for the former number 3 pick? There's a bunch of different scenarios that enter the equation. As for why the Niners would even entertain trading away a guy who they traded 3 first-round picks for only back in 2021, they would do it because they view Brock Purdy as their guy. They would do it because they could get some draft capital back that they lost in trading for Trey Lance, as well as Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers know that Trey Lance needs time, reps, development, and game action to fully tap into his potential. But do the Niners as an organization believe they can't afford to give that to him, and instead of just letting him sit idle on the bench, they trade him somewhere else where he can get some of those aforementioned reps. He's had injuries and inconsistent play up to this point, and the 49ers know better than anybody out there what type of player he is because they've seen him up close and personal more than anybody else. What I also think is interesting here is if the Niners were to trade Trey Lance away, they would be comfortable in Brock Purdy rehabbing that elbow and him coming back from it. They did sign Sam Darnold in a tampering period, so obviously they liked him to a large degree. What I also think is of note here, they have met with Dorian Thompson-Robinson 3 times at the NFL Scouting Combine. They had a private workout with him, and they also brought him into the facility. So that's of note as well for a guy who could be available for San Francisco later on in the NFL draft. My entire take on this whole Trey Lance situation is this. I wouldn't trade Trey Lance. I would let him get every single rep this offseason with Brock Purdy shelved because of that elbow surgery to see if Lance can live up to the lofty expectations of being the number 3 pick back in 2021. He's 6'4", 225, good pocket feel, good pocket mobility. He has plus athleticism, a really strong arm. He has a lot of potential. And if you were to trade Trey Lance away, you were taking a major gamble because it's a major risk to deal him away considering the severity of Brock Purdy's injury. And with Purdy, he has a ceiling. He is who he is. He's not going to get a lot better than he is and what he displayed last year when he went 7-0 in the regular season and in the playoffs before losing in the NFC Championship game. Trey Lance, on the other hand, is like an artist who you're waiting to see what type of paintings he's going to produce. He's shown some greatness, but you don't believe that he's fully shown that greatness to the fullest extent, and you're just waiting for him to fully get comfortable, fully get acclimated before he produces some beautiful artwork. And I do believe that Trey Lance can be a very good quarterback in this league. So I wouldn't do it. I think it's a risky proposition. At least see this offseason if he can play. If he can't, he can't. Or maybe you get some positive developments from this Brock Purdy injury front, and you can deal him a little bit later. Because if a team is desperate to trade for Trey Lance right now, they're probably going to be desperate at some point in the future as well. So with that, today's poll question is this: pick a healthy starter if you had one to choose from for 2023. Is it Purdy if he's healthy? Is it Lance if he's healthy? Type their initials down in the comment section right now. I do believe it's important to shed some light on what Matt Maiocco had to say. This is probably the preeminent Niners reporter, a guy who's really tapped into this front office. Here's what he had to say about this Ian Rapoport report from earlier. A source confirmed NFL media insider Ian Rapoport's report that, yes, unspecified teams have called the Niners about Lance's availability, and no, the 49ers are not seeking to trade him. It should come as no surprise that the 49ers are fielding calls. After all, they open the door for teams to inquire about Lance and anyone else on their roster with their long-held public stance that they will listen to any team that calls about any player. Lance is entering his 3rd professional season after the Niners, specifically Coach Kyle Shanahan and General Manager John Lynch, selected him after trading up to number 3 overall in the 2021 draft. And Lance, who turns 23 on May 9, isn't currently viewed as the Niners' top option after Brock Purdy's strong finish to last season. And Maiocco has a very good pulse on the Niners, but he makes a couple of good points there, right? John Lynch was asked specifically, will you trade Trey Lance? He did not definitively shut the door on that. So he left the door open to trade him away. So it is a possibility, and that's why I've been talking about it since the end of the regular season, that if the Niners fully believe that Brock Purdy is their guy, it doesn't make sense to have Trey Lance on this roster. As for some teams that I believe make sense for Lance to get traded to, number 1, the Houston Texans, because of D'Amico Ryans, and his newly tabbed offensive coordinator is Bobby Slowick, who was the Niners pass game coordinator. They have ties and familiarity with Trey Lance, and I don't think that Davis Mills is their franchise guy. More familiarity with this organization. It's the Tennessee Titans and Rand Carthen, who used to be the director of pro personnel, was in the Niners front office since 2017. Him and Adam Peters, John Lynch, they did a great job of drafting and developing some of these players and identifying them. He was a part of the front office that moved up to take Trey Lance. They, too, do not have a franchise quarterback. The New York Jets are somewhat interesting because if Aaron Rodgers returns to Green Bay, if the trade falls apart, what are the Jets going to do? Zach Wilson is a player who cannot play and does not have any confidence. There's no way they can turn the keys to him. They've made a lot of win-now moves. They're expecting Aaron Rodgers to come because of those aforementioned moves. Mike White is not going to be their starting quarterback. Why not make a trade for Trey Lance as their backup plan if the Aaron Rodgers deal does not come to fruition? And then lastly, you have the Minnesota Vikings. Kyle Shanahan has an infatuation with Kirk Cousins. It goes all the way back to when they worked together with the Washington Redskins at the time, and Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, did report that at the NFL Combine, a lot of people did believe that San Francisco and Minnesota were talking about a deal that would have sent Kirk Cousins from Minnesota to San Francisco, and if Minnesota was going to get rid of Kirk Cousins, they have to find a quarterback, right? It's not going to be Kellen Mond. Would it be Trey Lance? Here's what Mike Florio had to say about that. At this year's scouting combine, there were rumors of a potential Kirk Cousins trade from Minnesota to San Francisco. Those rumors may have come from the reality that the Niners and Vikings had discussions about another quarterback. Per a league source, the two teams talked about Trey Lance. So Mike Florio, I'm not even sure what his hit rate is. It might be a little bit low, but he's reporting right there that the Vikings and Niners did talk about a potential quarterback swap. I did put together a couple of trade ideas that I do want to break down, and I'll break down exactly why I think it makes sense. Here's trade idea number one with the Tennessee Titans here. The Titans have a couple of draft picks that could really be attractive to San Francisco. The Niners do not pick until 99 overall. So if you think about it in this context, with this trade with the Titans and the next one that we'll show you in just a moment with the Houston Texans, Trey Lance, if he were to enter the draft this year, still at 22 years old, would he be viewed as one of the top quarterback prospects? Probably. Overall, among all the players on this draft board, would he be viewed somewhere between 15 and 60? Probably. And if the Niners convey that to some other teams, could they get a pick somewhere in that range? I think a first-round pick is highly unlikely. But with this trade with the Tennessee Titans, Tennessee and Rand Carthon, they get their new quarterback with that new regime. They get Trey Lance. And the Niners either get a second-round pick, which is 41 overall. They could get a player who they really covet there at multiple positions. Right tackle, future left tackle, tight end, defensive tackle, safety, another position that they covet. Or, if that's too high of an asking price, could they settle for a third-round pick, pick 72 overall, and then San Francisco in the process able to jump up 27 picks from their previous selection at 99 overall. With the Houston Texans, obviously they have the number 2 overall pick. They're not going to give that up for Trey Lance. They'd be crazy to do that. If they do not draft a quarterback, could they give away pick number 33 in the second round? Or 65 overall in the third round? You team Trey Lance up with D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick, and they have their franchise quarterback. Trade idea number 3 is one that the homie Patrick Seatman, host of our Vikings channel, put together, and that's a trade that would involve Kirk Cousins. Now, I'm not a big Kirk Cousins guy. I'd rather have Brock Purdy as the quarterback of the Niners. I don't think there's a huge gap in clutch play. I think that Kirk Cousins is a statistical darling, but name me a moment that he's come through in a clutch moment. He hasn't. He lost a home playoff game this past year to Daniel Jones. He consistently craters under pressure and under the bright lights. He could be a good scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan and put up a lot of numbers, but a first-round exit seems inevitable because I've never seen him do anything or come through in a clutch moment. But Vikings received Trey Lance and 2 third-round picks. The Niners would have to give up those third-round picks to get a quarterback upgrade in Kirk Cousins, 99 and 101 overall. We're going to continue to talk about this story. It is one of the more juicy and interesting storylines currently developing in the National Football League. So let's round out with this. Of those 3 trade ideas, which one would you make? 1, 2, or 3? Another reminder, join us Friday for our celebration of surpassing 80,000 subscribers. Subscribe for daily shows on San Francisco, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.